In this pre-training camp episode, we are scanning the skies and calling our shots with league winners on the Horizon Draft Day Weather Watch. Each of us is highlighting 3 players, one from the early rounds, one from the middle, and one late, that we believe can shift the winds of a fantasy season. These are the potential league winners hiding in plain sight, ready to roll in like summer storms as drafts heat up and ADPs settle. This is your first look at the names we think will be on championship rosters come December. Watch the radar. These impact players are closing in. It's 36 degrees here in Davis, California, and in honor of the Tour de France starting on Sunday, allez, messieurs! See, because normally I yell producer, but instead I yelled, let's go, fellas. Welcome to the Fantasy Forecast with Grindberg and bigz and Schulte. I am bigz. He is Grindberg. Schulte's over there. And we're here to talk about league winners that are coming up in the later rounds and who we are looking at ADPs on and saying, that guy's a good deal. So join us, won't you?
Join us, won't you? That was you made me chuckle on that intro, bigz. You always get me sometimes not expecting things.
Right here on Fantasy Sports Advice Network.
Exactly.
I forgot that part.
It was great. It was a good intro. Schulte, what do you got to say about that?
I had no idea what he said, but I took it as my cue.
I said, allez, monsieur.
That means
let's go, fellas.
Let's go, fellas, in the old French language that I'm familiar with here up in Canada. But what we need our viewers to be familiar with is some of these league winners that we think are going to be pegged in their rounds, that they're going in and redraft drafts that, we're going to see some value here in. Now, we each got 3 players that we're going to go down, and our number 1 player is important for you guys to really, focus in on. Look at them. They're in the earlier rounds, and we're going to start with our late round guys here, bigz, and it starts with you. Who's your number 1 guy that you're looking at in the later rounds, looking at ADP that you're targeting, and why?
Well, he's my number 3 guy. But as always, this is based on redraft ADPs. And redraft, we're basically going to be starting our redraft drafts in August. But we are gaining intel throughout the Dynasty and Scott Fishbowl seasons. We've been working on this stuff since January. So I have a guy that I'm super excited about. He's got a very good opportunity to pick up in the second half of the season and win you your league. And that is Cincinnati Bengals running back Tahj Brooks. Now, Tahj Brooks begins the season with everybody who has been waiting for Chase Brown to emerge, having him emerged, and now everybody is drafting Chase Brown very, very high, but they are 2 different running backs. And I don't think the Bengals want to use Chase Brown the way everybody who's drafting him in the 4th round wants them to use him. The guy that they want to use is Tahj Brooks. And in early parts of the OTAs and rookie minicamp, the Bengals coaching staff came out, and the euphemism that they used for Tahj Brooks was a bowling ball covered in razor blades. Now, that's out of the mouth of Zach Taylor, and when you have a head coach who's talking about a rookie running back like that, watch out, because he's going to have a role with this team. Now, looking back at his 2023 and 2024 seasons at Texas Tech, he had 290 and then 286 total attempts. And then he had 1,538 yards and 1,505 yards rushing in those 2 seasons, 10 and 17 touchdowns. But if you look a little bit deeper, there's a marker that we look at for college running backs to see if they are capable of being a 60-target guy in the NFL. And Tahj Brooks broke the 20-target threshold the last 3 years, having 26, 29, and 28 receptions, 164, 72, and 199 yards. He can catch out of the backfield. Now, he's a bruiser. Like I said, he's a bowling ball, 5'10", 220 pounds, covered in razor blades. He can make you miss. He can run right through you, and he can catch the ball. He's going to take over the Cincinnati Bengals running back room at some point in 2025, whether he does it out of camp or he does it with a Chase Brown injury or he just does it through attrition to Chase Brown, we'll see. But in the second half of the season, you're going to want this guy on your roster for the playoffs because he's going to get 15 to 20 carries a game, and he's going to win you your league.
Schulte, what are your thoughts on Tahj Brooks?
I like Tahj Brooks, man. A handful of episodes ago, I talked about how I was leery of Chase Brown, and Tahj Brooks is a solid reason for that. And yeah, they got themselves a steal in the draft. He's just a solid all-around back and brings some size that Chase Brown doesn't. I think he's going to steal goal line stuff right away too. So yeah, I'm in on a flyer on Tahj Brooks. I think he's got some big time upside here for a guy that late.
Yeah, totally. And then they're similar value as far as where they went in drafts, as far as where their draft capital lies. So I like this call there, bigz, because, there's a opportunity here, an injury there. Then you think Tahj Brooks could, propel himself into that lead role with a couple good breaks. So I like that call as a late round guy, and a guy that I'm willing to throw a couple stabs at it if the opportunity arises later on in my drafts. It's the all forgotten veteran who might just sneak onto your fantasy championship rosters, and I'm talking about Miles Sanders. For me, he's a late round target with real league winning upside. It's nearly free in drafts, being taken in round 23 and beyond, and he enters one of the NFL's most murkiest backfields with the clearest path to early touches. And right now, he's running with the ones in Dallas, a sign that the coaches already trust him more than unproven options behind him. I think Javonte Williams will have the inside track on paper, but his inefficiency and limited usage late last year raises serious questions. Jayden Blue is explosive but raw, and ball security and pass protections are concerns. Meanwhile, Sanders brings that veteran presence, a career 4.7 yards per carry, and not so bad at a pass blocking. These are all traits that Schottenheimer values highly, and with his committee backs, I could just see this happening for Miles Sanders as the cheapest option in this backfield. He won't get 250 touches. I'm telling you that right now, but 150 is not outside of the realm for him, especially in this backfield that's so ambiguous. He is my favorite late round dart throw with league winning upside, and his price is nearly zero. So he's forming to me in a way that I'm really excited about, and I'm willing to take a bunch of just dart throws on Miles Sanders.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Javonte, I think Javonte stinks. Like that's where I'm at with Javonte at this point. Maybe he doesn't stink, but like those injuries, he never popped back from those. And I think the thing I like about Sanders is even last year he showed juice, man. Like he had some really big runs. Like I remember one I think against the Saints, a couple of really big plays that showed like, hey, this guy still got it. And in the 23rd round, like you aren't finding dudes who are popping on, making some highlight plays like that.
Yeah, I want to track him through the preseason and see where he and Javonte Williams are as far as their efficiency per touch, and that's going to tell me all I need to know about where I draft Miles Sanders and redraft. I'm currently leaning more towards the Javonte Williams just because of the opportunity, but if he is being out-efficiencyed by Miles Sanders throughout the preseason, then I'm definitely not in on Javonte, and I'm grabbing Miles Sanders when I can get him in the middle of the teens.
All right, Schulte, you're up here, bud.
Yeah, so I've got a guy here. You're getting late, and is a big play dude, super one of these hyper efficient guys who's not going to get you a ton of volume, but he's going to get the work done on limited touches. And for a guy that, hey, he only had 500 receiving yards last year, but I think he's got a chance to win your leagues this year. And I'm talking Marvin Mims. Now, we saw a couple huge games out of him to end the season, and touchdowns. He scored 4 out of 7 games he had a touchdown in coming down the stretch here. In his final 5 games, he had 3 top 13 weekly finishes, including wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 7 to end the season. So, and this, like I said, it's coming off limited volume. We're looking at only 52 targets on the year. Now, I'm expecting that to go up because I think with the Sean Payton offense and as they developed, they kind of started to realize, like, hey, this guy can be a real weapon for us. So we saw some of the usage start to spike near the end of the year. And I think that carries over into going into 2025 here. We've got a rising offense with Bo Nix coming in another year in this Peyton system. I really think we're going to see a big step out of Marvin Mims. He's going to take a step volume-wise and production-wise. Some of that hyper-efficiency stuff. The guy caught 39 balls last year and was 8th among wide receivers in yak. Like, just stew on that for a second. 39 catches, 8th among wide receivers in yak. This dude is explosive, man. I mean, he is because they're using him on returns. Like, they'll get him the ball any way they can. And the yak numbers are just absolutely insane. And he was first among wide receivers in average target separation, which 2.73 yards. Like, and that on Player Profilers, when he catches the ball, what's the separation look like? So they know how to scheme him to get him open downfield. And he's just got the speed to do it as well. Now, looking at RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins coming in, I just talked about how I don't think Javonte is any good. I think both of these dudes are an upgrade over anyone they trotted out last year for running back. I think you're going to see an improved running game, which is only going to help some of these deep shots from Marvin Mims. You're getting this guy late, and he's got a chance to just really pop off this year.
Really a big fan of Marvin Mims. I talked about him on a couple episodes, or whether it was the Pulse or Forecast. I think, if you look at how Bo Nix progressed last year, especially in the later half, they started opening him up, and that's when Marvin Mims started popping off. You mentioned his final, I think that 6-game stretch where he really was putting it on. I totally agree with you here, Schultze. I think Marvin Mims is a really late round guy, and he's creeping up into the middle rounds in some of these drafts that I'm seeing. So if you can get him in a later round situation, he's definitely, I think, the number 2 target. I know a lot of people think that Evan Ingram is going to be that guy for the Broncos, but I really think that Marvin Mims is really emerging here and could be the number 2 guy and a sleeper for y'all. What do you think, Biggs?
As long as they stop throwing the ball to him behind the line of scrimmage, I think Marvin Mims can have a huge breakout. Also, I think Kansas City better look around, because they could find themselves 4th in the division by the end of the season if they're not careful.
And there you have it. All right, Biggs, who's your number 2 guy in the middle round?
All right, this is a tough one for me, because I have been talking about this guy for the last 7 months. And I'm almost tired of it. I'm almost to the point where I have like complete fatigue on talking about him. But I just took him within my top 11 in the Scott Fish Bowl. And there's a big reason why I'm still way in on Jayden Higgins, Texans wide receiver. Now, Jayden Higgins was drafted in the 2nd round. He was picked 34. So he has that top 50 upside that we look at for rookies. He went into in the top 50. So that is a huge indicator of fantasy success. He's an incredible athlete, 9.63 RAS score, 6'4" as a wide receiver. I talked about Dante Thornton last week. Jayden Higgins is only 0.2 of a second slower in the 40 than Dante Thornton is, and pretty much close to the same size. Plus, he has way more route running on tape. So as high as I was on Dante Thornton, I'm even higher on Jayden Higgins, because he's going to step into an offense with C.J. Stroud, who's an incredibly accurate passer, who is going to have a balanced year, where he had a huge rookie year, and he had a big fall off in his 2nd year. And now he's going to kind of come back to the mean and have more of a balanced year and have a bigger year than he did last year. He's going to be a day 1 starter. I think there's going to be some target competition with Jalen Noel. There was a point about a month ago where I was thinking, since Higgins and Nico are so similar, I think Jalen Noel might be the guy of the 2 rookies to own in that Texans offense. But the more I dwell on it, the more I know Jayden Higgins is going to be out there, and I got to take a chance on his talent and his opportunity. And so I'm still fully all in on Jayden Higgins.
You've been talking about him for quite some time, Biggs. It's almost like ad nauseum, but I mean, you were back and forth near the end there.
I make you nauseous.
No.
Oh.
It's just a matter of how much, he's been part of our vocabulary for a couple of months here. And it was before most people even heard of the name Jayden Higgins. You saw him at the Senior Bowl really pop off there. And yeah, I like what you saw. Schulte, I know you're really high on Higgins. You wrote him up in the rookie guide and did a really good job on that. And yeah, I think the optimism here, people saw him coming into that lineup and maybe are a little bit afraid or backed off of because they kind of similar profile to Nico Collins as far as how they operate. But I think they could both, exist in this offense, and the Texans, they showed their cards drafting him at such a early target in the second round there. So I love the call here, bigz, and these rookies may not perform right out of the gate, but these are the guys we're looking at the later half of the season that could be these league winners that we're looking at. Schulte, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, when we've dug into this guy, through all the dynasty stuff, it's like the talent is all we've raved about, and you do take a little step back when you see he gets drafted by the Texans, and like that is kind of a bummer landing spot in a way for fantasy, but like the cream always rises to the top, and if we believe in the talent this hard, then yeah, take the shot and redraft.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to talk about a guy in the middle rounds that if you're waiting on quarterback, and I think this is the year to do it outside of the top three, I think that you could really push to get a guy that has clear winning upside, and I think he's in that range now, and bigz said it first. He gives off early Josh Allen vibes, and honestly, he's not far off. Drake Maye flashed legit dual threat potential as a rookie, despite dropped into one of the league's worst offensive environments. New England's offense ranked bottom 5 in both pass blocking and receiving last year, yet Maye consistently produced when healthy with a fresh coaching staff, especially the offensive coordinator, key additions across the board. I think his year 2 breakout is brewing. And one of the reasons for optimism, Schulte, you mentioned him last week on the show, TreVeyon Henderson. He's not just explosive. He's a pass-catching machine, a top-tier pass protector, and exactly the type of back Josh McDaniels loves. McDaniels has a long history of funneling targets to his RBs. Think of James White, Dion Lewis, and even Josh Jacobs saw over 60 targets under him in 2022. So the numbers won't jump off the page, but context matters, and Maye started off from week 6 on and threw at least one touchdown in every game and played over 30% of those snaps, and is second among quarterbacks in scramble yards per game. He's got that upside that bigz mentioned. He compared him to Josh Allen, like I mentioned, and I think this year with some progression, I think those easy little pass dump-offs to TreVeyon Henderson is going to rack up those yards and give him a couple rushing upside chances here. I could think he can emerge past the 500-yard rushing mark, which is going to put him in a top 10 range here. And I think if you can get that kind of production in your middle rounds, I'm all in on Drake Maye at that price point.
Absolutely. Love it. With my next guy, I was kind of leaning towards Kyle Williams, but there still is some competition in that receiving room, especially with Hunter Henry still there, Stephon Diggs coming in. So I went with somebody else. But the main reason that I'm high on Kyle Williams is because of Drake Maye. He's going to be a very capable passer. We saw him at North Carolina with a couple of different guys that went into the NFL and have had success out of North Carolina. And I think Drake Maye he's a playmaker. He reminds me a lot of if Derek Carr could run. I watched Derek Carr for a lot of years take wide receivers and make them into something that they hadn't been before. And I think there's going to be a lot of that with Drake Maye throughout his career.
Awesome. All right, Schulte, get into your number 2 guy.
Yeah, so another guy here who didn't, it's not, he had an injury. So we saw another small sample size of some flash here, but I think going into this year with the opportunity he's going to get, we're gonna see some, I think, heavy volume all season long. And for a guy who's going at wide receiver 55, I really like this pick, and that's Cedric Tillman. And now looking at the Browns, he's just that big-bodied X receiver on the boundary guy that they haven't really had. And if you look at week 7 to 11 last year, one of those was a bye week, so they played 4 games. He averaged 10 targets a game and 18.5 fantasy points per game. And now this is with Jerry Jeudy on the field as well. He outperformed Jeudy in 3 of the 4 games. He got the concussion after this, the stretch where he really took off and just missed the rest of the year. I mean, it is what it is. But the way he burst on And I think the way they were able to utilize him, I think it's a team discovering a guy and realizing, hey, we got something here. You're expecting him to slot into a full-time starting role coming into 25. I know the quarterback situation is probably going to be a little murkier than, Jameis throwing all these passes because he's just chucking it. I mean, that's what we love about the guy, right? And he chucking it with no regard. So I think you might see a little bit of a dip. Like seeing 10 targets a game during that stretch, that might not be the case, but I still think throughout a whole season, we're still going to be in that 7 to 8, 9 range. But the offense is hopefully going to be a little better with an improved ground game, but I still think the defense is going to give up a lot of points. And so they're going to be playing a lot from behind, and they're going to just not be a great team and they'll lose a lot of games. I think there's a lot of garbage opportunity here, which is kind of gross, but, counts the same. So I really think that we're going to see Cedric Tillman take the step and maybe even outproduce Jerry Jeudy. I'm just going to go that far. And when you say Jerry Jeudy's going at, I don't know, like 5th or 6th round, I want to say in there as like a back end 2, wide receiver 2, early 3. And I'd rather hold, wait for wide receiver 55 and snag Cedric Tillman.
Absolutely. So I watched the NFL just like everybody else did last year. And one of the things that really jumped off the page to me was Cedric Tillman and what he did on the field in a fantasy points per game with Jerry Jeudy on the field at the same time. Then when he got hurt, Jerry Jeudy just started doing Jerry Jeudy things. And I've watched the narrative since the end of last year, and everybody's trying to like pump the Jerry Jeudy. I'm not in on him at all. I'm still in on Cedric Tillman. What I'm doing is we have Jerry Jeudy going right around pick 81 as wide receiver 39. Do not make that pick. Take Devontae Adams instead. And then later on, double up on Calvin Ridley and Cedric Tillman. And you have now just won your league.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about any sort of pass catcher from the Browns in general with their quarterback situation. I'm okay with taking a stab on Tillman in some leagues I have, but Deontay Johnson might complicate things here too. He started off last year okay. It wasn't his performance on the field. He still showed he could separate, and they brought him in as a dart throw. It was a contract that might put some pressure on. So I'm just a little bit worried about that whole wide receiver room in general. So I'm gonna veer away, but I would definitely take some stabs on Cedric Tillman, like Schultz mentioned, and be wary about this Jeudy situation, like bigz had has some concerns there, because this whole Deontay Johnson,
he's too high. He's too high.
It is. It is a really high with a team that doesn't really have a quarterback that is set out right now. They got 4 guys.
Hey, you got Joe Flacco in the building. Come on, you got Joe Flacco.
They got 4 guys vying for that spot, and you don't really know who's going to get
Joe
it.
Flacco.
And it's going to be Flacco, but I mean, at the end of the day, they don't want to have to go that route. So I think they're going to probably start the odd guy here and there, and it's going to get out of control early.
They got Joe Flacco, and he's going to be fine, and he's going to finish the season. They're not going to go to Kenny Pickett. They're not going to go to Cedric Tillman, or to I was reading the thing. They're not going to go to Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders might not even make the team. So what I'm trying to get at is you have Cedric Tillman, who is unique in his abilities, as opposed to Jerry Jeudy and Deontay Johnson, who are kind of like very similar receivers. So you put the coin on Cedric Tillman, and imagine, guys, we've heard some camp stuff about Jalen Hyatt coming out, and he's been like bigger and starting to get more involved in the Giants passing game. I'm going to plant a flag right here. Cedric Tillman, Jalen Hyatt, and Dante Thornton, all 3 former Tennessee wide receivers who have been on the outs because of their reputation. They're all going to finish in the top 48 this year.
There it is. You got a flag.
Come on, can we throw Velus Jones into that? Come on.
All right. Well, let's hear from our sponsor here, Schultz, before we get into our spotlights, because it's important that everybody knows where to find us and everything that's great on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com, join as a pro member, get qualified for our Jersey leagues, come to the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, come say hi to all of us, and, keep watching, like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. We'd love to have you over on the FSAN app. Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah, buy merch, too.
Buy the merch, yes. Especially, you got a Fantasy Football Advice Network. You got your Fantasy Forecast hoodie. We got a lot going on here. Look at that, the forecast hat. They're all it's all great gear and really high quality stuff. So, Schulte, roll the clip for bigz' Spotlight.
All right. I like Xavier Legette. And I like Adam Thielen. And I'm even a cokehead. I like Jalen Coker too. And I love me some Hunter Renfrow. But what is the one thing that all four of those guys have in common? They're all receivers that are support receivers. Up until this year, there hasn't been a number one alpha wide receiver in Carolina since I can't remember. And they went out and they drafted Tetaroa, don't call me Tet, McMillan, T-Mac, right? So last year, he had 31.68% receiving yards market share at Arizona. They were throwing to him a lot. He had the highest EPA rate in college football among wide receivers in this rookie class at 76%. And he was also second in the class in receiving yards per team passing attempt. Ricky White had 2.88. That's totally an anomaly. But Tetaroa McMillan led everybody. He is exactly what Bryce Young needs. He's a big-bodied, fast, capable route runner with yak ability. He's going to take over and be the alpha in that room. We watch as rookie wide receivers come on strong in the second half of the season and win you your leagues. So when you're picking in the rounds between 1 and 6, when Tetaroa McMillan is coming up and you can see he's a round out, you hit that button. You get that dude because he is him. Tetaroa McMillan is my guy.
Love the call, Biggs. I think any big style receiver in a Canales offense is going to get the targets like Mike Evans did, and they have very similar comparisons. I think that Ted is going to have the opportunity to really shine with that young quarterback, Bryce Young, and I love this situation here, and he's going to get force-fed the ball, I think. There's not much going on in that backfield as far as, Chuba Hubbard's great, don't get me wrong, but he's not their number one priority here, and I think Tet is going to be there. They showed their cards with picking him in the first round in a top 10 situation. Schultz, you got anything to add to that?
No, man, I touched on him last week, and I think he's set for a huge season, and what did I say? Oh, I said he's going to be somewhere in the 10 to 15 wide receiver range this year. So, yeah, man, if you're looking at league winner, that's a huge plus on your draft value. So, I'm in on this. He's going to get an insane amount of targets. He's going to instantly be a red zone threat. And, yeah, sky's the limit here.
I smell another flag plant. Yes, he's going to wind up being a top 10 to 15 wide receiver over the course of the season. He's going to be a top 10 wide receiver in the second half.
There you have it.
Boom.
All right, Chelsea, let's get into my spotlight. All right, so my spotlight player is going off the board as the wide receiver 60th overall player in redraft leagues, and I'm talking about Jameson Williams. He offers real top 15 upside at a wide receiver 3 price tag. After a rocky injury suspension field start to his career, the former 12th overall pick finally started to shine in 2024, and what we saw down the stretch was consistent explosiveness, and it was too hard for me to ignore. From week 10 onward, Williams averaged 15.3 PPR points per game, which would have made him 22 wide receiver overall over a full season. And now with a new offensive coordinator and a defined role in Detroit's high-powered offense, I think he's set to take on another leap. John Morton, the new Detroit's OC, has already said he expects a breakout year from Williams, and all signs point to that prediction becoming reality. Williams is no longer just a deep threat merchant. He used all levels of the field last year and led all wide receivers in yards after the catch per reception, with Jared Goff returning one of the league's most accurate passers and plenty of defensive attention on Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta. I think Williams is set to destroy single coverage, and if you want a top 10 production at round 6 price, this is the swing you're going to want to take. Top 22 down the stretch. Wide receiver efficiency, 1 metrics. He led all wide receivers in YAC. I mentioned that. He expanded his route tree. I just think he's going to check every box for me as a breakout in 2025. The pedigree, the role consolidation, the late season surge, and the coaching staff that already is telegraphing his increased usage. He's stepping into year 3 with chemistry, opportunity, and momentum, and you can grab him after 5 full rounds of your draft. So I'm all over Jameson Williams this year, and I think that he's got an opportunity to really, be toe-to-toe with Amon-Ra St. Brown for the lead role in that Detroit Lions offense. So I love this situation, and I love that offense in general, and hopefully they don't take a step back with Ben Johnson gone, but I really like what I'm seeing here from Jameson Williams, guys.
It looks like the transition is going to be pretty seamless with their offensive coordinator, so I don't think that they take a big step back. Jared Goff is prolific and very capable of throwing 550, 600 yard times, 550 to 600 attempts this season. I think that's totally in the realm of possibility. I love Jameson Williams. I was starting to call for him to be one of my big sleepers. It's a pinned tweet that I have from a few months ago. There was something that we saw in his talent when he was at Alabama, and he just went through a couple seasons of just bad luck. It takes a while for rookie wide receivers sometimes to get acclimated to the NFL game. He was dealing with an injury at the end of his college career. He had been dealing with a transfer to Alabama, which was a new program from him coming from Ohio State. So he had to deal with that transition. He then transitioned into the NFL post-injury. Then he had a suspension. It just hasn't been a golden road for Jameson Williams, and he's starting to overcome that, and he's going to be one of the top wide receivers in this game for a few years.
All right, yeah, we just talked about it with Jayden Higgins. Cream rises to the top, and this is a dude with undeniable talent. I loved him coming out. Everything you said is spot on. I do have a little bit of concern about him taking that step into wide receiver 1-2 territory. I think there's a world he's still 3rd on the team in targets, but then on the flip side, he's so explosive and efficient and makes these big plays that he doesn't need to get loaded with 150 targets. So he's a guy I kind of go back and forth on, and I kind of see both sides of the coin playing out here. But like you said, in round 6 here, there is potential for huge upside.
If you need an analog to T. Higgins or George Pickens in Dallas, it's Jameson Williams.
Love it. Yeah, I agree with that, Biggs. All right, Chelsea, roll your clip, buddy. I want to hear what you got to say.
Hey. All right, man. So I'm going to go over to San Francisco, and we're going to talk about a 31-year-old that you're going to be taking in 3rd round of your draft, maybe the 4th if you're lucky, and which sounds real icky, right? But it's George Kittle, and I'm going to tell you why you should have zero concerns. Now, this dude has been a top 5 tight end 6 out of the last 7 years. He's the pinnacle of consistency at the position. The 1 year he did not finish in the top 5, he only played 8 games. And that's also the only season of his career he's played less than 14 games. So he's going to be on the field for you, and he's going to produce. I get he's 31, but we've had the age conversation with this dude for literally like years straight, and I'm not buying it until I see the production dip on the field. And it hasn't gone anywhere. He just got signed to a 4-year deal, which means the team isn't concerned about it. And I mean, I think they know better than we do. They're the ones seeing the guy all the time. He's going to be a top 2 target getter in an offense that you should have zero concerns about their ability to score points. And Brock Purdy's just going to take his development's going to take a step forward, and he's going to be getting the ball to Kittle. I really love this. When you're looking at his player profiler page, he's a top 5 tight end in metrics across the board. Air yards, ADOT, deep targets, red zone targets, receptions, yards, yak, touchdowns, fantasy points per game, yards per targets, yards per catch, yards per route run. He's literally a top 5 tight end in every single one of those metrics, and in a handful of them, he's first.
Mm-hmm.
He never, I can't say never, he does have a couple dud games. Now, one of them this year was week 17 with 29% snaps. But the floor is just awesome with this dude, and he gives you such a great combination of floor and ceiling. Like, he's rarely going to burn you. He's always going to be a steady Eddie, and more likely than not, he's going to be more than a steady Eddie, and he can just blow up and take over games. And coming into this year, we're looking at a weakened wide receiver room. We're going to see half the season with no Brandon Ayuk. They're going to have Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, and some people are really high on these guys, and I'm kind of high on Juwan Jennings. I think with the full season and the full load, I think he's going to have a really good year. However, this is a distinct possibility George Kittle leads the team in targets. I say he's going to be a top 2 target getter, but I think there is a real possibility he leads the team in targets. He's the most talented pass catcher who's going to be out there all year. That's for sure. He's set to dominate again with this combination of size, speed, yak ability. I mean, how many times have we seen this guy catch a ball and just burst down the field for 45 more yards? Like, it happens all the time. And like I mentioned, we have not seen him take a step back on the field at all despite the age. Wheels up for Kittle, man. I expect another top 3 tight end finish.
Wheels up for Kittle. And I'm not worried about the age at all. Tight ends age like wine. I'm not worried about a 31-year-old. You see how athletic he is. He does get banged up throughout the season, and, you know, hasn't played 16 or 17 game seasons in a while. I have a tweet that I sent out a couple days ago. In 1985, Walter Payton finished the season with 282 fantasy points, which would have been RB7 in 2024. He was 32 years old. So somebody who had been a running back in the old NFL where people didn't give a crap and they tried to murder you for 11 seasons, and he was okay at 32. I'm not worried about George Kittle at 31. So,
yeah, and he's elite right now still, and he's got that upside that Brock Bowers and Trey McBride have. I think there's a power tier 3 here at the tight end position, especially in redraft, and he's the cheapest one out of the 3, and I think he could really get into that tier as far as production goes. He's shown it throughout his career, and like Schulte said, he's only missed, he's played 14 games in most of his career season. So I love the call here, Schulte, and especially at the price, he could potentially be the tight end 1 this year, and no one would blink an eye, and you're getting him at the tight end 3 value. So great call there, guys. I think all of them are.
He outscored those other 2 in fantasy points per game last year.
Yeah.
So say he does get hurt. In week 3, he gets injured and he misses 6 or 7 weeks, and then he comes back and you have him in the fantasy playoffs, and he's scoring more points per game than anybody at the tight end position. Like, you can pivot if he gets hurt, right? But he's the cheapest of the top 3. Grab him as the cheapest of the top 3 and then go win your league.
There it
Right,
is.
nothing but amazing things to say about Brock Bowers and Trey McBride both. But when we're talking draft strategy here, yeah, wait till round 3, 4 if you're lucky and grab Kittle.
In a dynasty, we're talking a totally different situation, but these guys are almost, splitting hairs here at the top tier there. So, yeah, I love it, guys. We had some great picks here. I think our viewers are going to get a lot of great information from this episode when they get into their drafts in a couple of months here. And, yeah, summer's hot. Our takes are hot. And, bigz, finish off this show like you always do. Plug in our network, man.
It's 36 degrees. Jeez.
Celsius.
Yeah, Canadian. Thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. Thank you for joining us on Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Go to fantasysportsadvice.com and, join as a pro member, all that stuff. Buy our merch. Love us. Hate us. Just keep coming back.
Hit the bell.
And we hope you win.
Keep commenting in our chat, folks, and don't be afraid if we chat back, because that's what we're here for your enjoyment from all of us.
Engage.
Yeah, let's go. We hope you win, folks.
We hope you win.